Hey guys, this is IntroducingEmy and we're back with another 100 Days of Making Comics. I finished shading on page 194, chapter 6. It was pretty tedious and boring, but here it is. This is what my shading layer looks like for anybody that's interested. It's three-tonal generally. It's a highlight, a middle darker tone, and then like a backlight or an underlight, or I forget all the different terms for that, but it's just 3 colors. I try to keep it pretty simple. And now I'm going to go through and do some touch-ups. Just clean up little things here and there that are kind of bothering me when I step back. One thing I noticed is this shadow here makes Kwasgi's eyes seem a lot longer or wider than they actually are, so I'm just going to go in there and kind of erase that. And then I'm going to step back. Yeah, that's a lot better. Now, just because of the nature of Photoshop and everything, when I'm kind of backed off like this and the file isn't collapsed all the way down, it sort of has this appearance of like all the lines and everything look a lot thicker. But when they're flattened, they kind of slim back out again. I don't know. It's just the nature of the beast, the way it renders it on the screen. So, yeah. This kind of bothers me how Hugh's nose is like, it's just stripes right in here. That kind of bothers me a little bit, but I don't know. I like that you can see the one side of his nose there, and yeah, so I'm probably just going to leave that be. And was this anything? No. So I'm going to call this my fix layer, and it's going to go into my effects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a soft brush, and I'm just kind of going to go in and like paint over little areas that bothered me. One thing I don't like that I did with this page is I worked on it over like a long period of time. I'm not a big fan of doing that. I prefer to just like do my pages all within like a couple days, if that. Like when I go to do my updates, I like to do my pages pretty much in one shot. Like I don't like Monday I don't like ink the page, and then Tuesday I do the flats, or you know, whatever. I try to like keep it all pretty much all together, because I feel like if I keep stepping away and then coming back to a page, it feels like it's almost like you can see how many times I left the page, and I don't like that. So I'm just gonna go in here and I'm gonna kind of clean up some little areas that are bugging me, and then I'll just flick that back on and off. See, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. The reason I use a softer brush is it's just a little easier to work with and kind of tidy things up, and from what I can tell, it's not super obvious when I flatten all the layers down. It's not like you can tell that one brush was aliased and the other wasn't, or anything like that. So yeah, just kind of going to go through here, do some little fix-em-ups. Also, there's no real reason why I do this on its own layer, like away from everything. It's just habit, I guess. It's just quick and easy and dirty and hoorah. One thing I'm going to do is go in here and just put a little bit of a shadow, but I'm going to go lighter than the actual darkest tone. Also, I just want to make it clear, there's no like trick or anything I do off camera to shade. It's just going in there and drawing in the areas that I want to color and all that, and that's that. Now my shading is on its own layer, so yeah. It's not like I draw the shading directly onto my flats layer or anything like that. I'm not some kind of savage Do shades all on the same layer. Somebody's gonna message me and be like, I'm not a savage, you're a savage. I'm just teasing, I'm sorry. But yeah. Shading for me is kind of boring, so I tend to just like put a movie on and kind of mechanically go through and do it. And this time my movies of choice were MST3K, The Screaming Skull, and what was the other one? It was another MST. Oh, The Creeping Terror. I've seen them both like a million times, but I can't get enough of them. Oops. I hate when I do that. There we go. Alrighty. Hate when I do that. Hate when I paint bucket in the whole thing. So, I had some kind of a little bit of a disappointing day today. Don't worry, it's nothing major. It's like first world problem. Dave got me the newest version of Manga Studio, which as far as I know is EX5, and I was like, sweet. And I actually got it before I went to the Laughlin UFO Symposium, but I didn't really have time to install it and do that, and I finally was just like able to take a breather this week and start kind of getting my artistic self back together. And I thought, oh hey, I should install the newest version of Manga Studio and spend the afternoon, you know, fuffing around with it. Well, it's missing a lot of the default tools that I use, and I'm just like, I mean, they're there, but they're so differently handled. And the two biggest things that, well, the number one thing I use Manga Studio for is inking, and that's it. I don't really use it for anything else. But it's like, in order to compete with Photoshop's coloring capabilities, they sort of altered like a lot of the core stuff that I use for inking to sort of like make way for coloring. So the two big things that I use Manga Studio for within the inking realm is, by the way, I'm just going to start doing some shines while I talk about this. One of the big things that I use it for is the curve tool, which is what I use to do Kwasgi's like big long spikes, but I use it for lots of other things. Like I think I was showing that in one of my videos. I use it to just do big curvy areas that would normally take a while to do by hand. And then, oops, that's my title card, sorry. It's chapter 19. I need that one. Wait, no. That one. Okay, sorry. Whew. I'm all over the place. Just need to run in here. Oh, nope. I need some Kwasgi hair shines. There we go. So anyway, they completely removed the curve tool, which you can still do it, but you have to like, you have to get like a curved ruler and kind of do what you do in Photoshop, where like you have these like you would use the pen tool if you're familiar with that in Photoshop. So you sort of have to like mechanically like draw all this, and it's not like, I don't know, the one in EX4 was just so like good. It just, the way it felt and the way it worked, and it's awesome. And then the other thing they changed was they changed the line correction tool to the, what did they call it? It's called like a stabilization. And it's just something about that too. It doesn't feel right. I don't like the way it works. And I really tried to give it a good shot, but the problem was when I went to ink, I would like time myself, and I was working on a sketch that I had actually already inked, but I was just, in fact, it was this page. I was just trying to ink it as quick as I could, the way I would do it in EX4, and it just was not going well. So I ended up uninstalling it, and I guess I'm just gonna keep going with EX4 instead of EX5, and I'm sad about that. Like, I was really looking forward to it, and I spent the money on the program. Well, Dave technically spent the money on the program for me. I was just the provider of the funds. I'm lazy about buying new software, so I kind of like leave it up to him whenever I need something. But yeah, I mean, like, maybe I'm missing something, but oh well. I'm gonna sell the software. I already used the registration code though, so I don't know how that's gonna go, but I will try to transfer my registration stuff so that somebody out there in the lucky public can use it who would find EX5 to be up their alley. Oops, wrong layer. But it was not to be for me, and I'm very sad about that. I just, the thing is that Manga Studio is not my primary go-to for working on my comics. It's just sort of like a secondary piece of software, but a very essential one, but just not, primary. So, it's like, I need like very particular things to work, and if they don't, I'm kind of just stuck, I guess. I have to use Photoshop for everything else. Oh man, I'm so glad. I was so ready to, like, as I was installing EX5, I was like, well, what am I going to need 4 for? EX4, I should just uninstall it. I'm so glad I stopped myself, because then I would have had to reinstall 4, and that would have been a whole big thing because I don't even know where the box is, and it's just like, ugh. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing EX5 because it seemed like a very well put together piece of software, and if, that is the program you use for your comics, have at it Haas, it just was not for me. It was missing a few key components that I feel like they didn't need to change, or I don't know, maybe they felt like people just didn't use those tools enough or something, and they had to go. Oh, I want to just like put a big old tear in his eye. I shouldn't though. It's sort of like a reveal later. Alrighty. And just for funsies, let's put the glow of his circuit right in here. Oops. let's see. I don't like the way that hand looks. Like the shading on it. Let me get back to here. Would help if I had the right brush. So probably the next episode of this is going to be like a review of just some of the pages I've redone that I've spent 30 minutes plus on. So many pages. So that is a thing to be looking for. Let's do a fade on Kwasky up here. I think I mentioned this in a previous video. I wanted to set him back. And I'm just going to do that by selecting middle tone. I'm going to select all the negative, delete it. So this always happens. I always have like a little bit of garbage that I have to go in and get rid of. There's always like a little bit of a line. I never get it quite right. Yep. Perfect. And then I'm going to do a lighten. Actually, let's do screen, and then let's take the saturation up. So that's basically it. I mean, I just sort of put him, like, fade him back. Sometimes I'll do like a little gradient over top. Oh man, that does look kind of nice. I sort of like, I love all this like darkness over here. Do you hear me like hissing? I'm like, ooh, I really, really, really like that. Nah, let's just keep it simple. I always like, I get really stuck sometimes on pages where I'm like, no, this has to be a masterpiece of like the finest wine of comics or whatever. And I have to remember it's not one page that makes it the art of a comic. It's the whole book. You know what I mean? Like it's all of it together. It's a whole bunch of good panels, not one great page. So, I gotta keep that in my mind when I work on stuff, because I tell you what, I could sink hours and hours and hours into one redo if you let me, and I'm actually pretty speedy about them. This one's kind of taken me a while because I've had like little thing. This is an important page to me, and there's little things about it that, you know, I adjusted panels for 1,000 million billion years, and yeah. So I always have to be reminding myself. Real quick trick. So I just copied the background and brought it up to the top, and I'm just going to make it kind of see-through-ish, I guess. Let's just call this BG Fade Copy, and then I'm just going to throw a few motion lines in here for motioning. Hehe. It was kind of nice when I was at the Laughlin UFO Symposium, and I know I've harped on this, like, the symposium I made, like, more than enough now, but when I was there, a woman who is a field investigator for MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network, bought one of my books, because it was kind of a slow day, and, it doesn't come off as good, but anyway, she bought one of my books, and as far as I know, she's the first, like, semi-well-connected ufologist that owns Trying Human. And she was sitting across the aisleway at her booth, reading it. Like I said, it was a slow day. And she looked over at me, and she goes, she didn't yell it, but she kind of mouthed to me. She went, "This is really good." And I was like, "Thank you." But she seemed like shocked. She probably thought it was just like a load of tripe, you know. Like I didn't know anything about ufology, and I was just like, her aliens or whatever. But I was very pleased that she liked it so much, because it is something that I do worry about a lot, is how ufologists, you know, seeing it from the outside would look at it, because I work so hard on authenticity. Admittedly, I've had to try to kind of I've had to sort of should I leave it that green or that yellowish? Yeah, no. Admittedly, I've had to like kind of fluff up some areas that I couldn't find as much information about, like the reptoids. They're not like a very consistent narrative in ufology. A lot of times you get sort of like a mixed bag depending on, you know, who you're talking to, what day of the week. But the grays are, you get a more of like a consensus there. And but anyway, it was so refreshing just to hear her really like enjoy it. And you know, I told her, God damn it, no, I didn't mean to sound like that. You know, she said like, "Well, what's your goal here? What's your audience?" And I said, "Well, you know, mid-teen to mid-20s is my target audience, with the goal being that young people who didn't grow up with a lot of this could, you know, enjoy it, enjoy ufology and all that." And from her reaction, I think she was like, "Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head," and I'm like really chuffed by that. And I hope I continue to get young folks interested in ufology and good times and all that. Now, my end goal is not to get somebody like obsessed with UFOs and aliens, or like you know, to make them a believer or anything like that. You know, they can believe whatever the hell they want to believe. My goal at the end of the day is to keep the lore interesting and fresh in people's minds, because I feel like unless you grew up with this stuff, you know, like, where would you hear about this? I mean, it's not, I mean, there's a new X-Files show coming on, but who knows if they're gonna really focus on this stuff much, because the old series, you know, was all about that. So I feel like it's this really cool chunk of, like, earthly lore that was only around for about, like, 50 to 60 years, and then it sort of just went away. And, I want people to like have it and remember it, and And if they don't consider it lore, that's fine. If it's the truth to them, then so be it. And I hope it's nice to see some of their truth and reality in a fictional, fun, I'd like to think fun story. Some people out there are like, no, it's not fun, I don't like it. Oh, Hugh, you are my little baby bean and I love you so much. Oh man, totally random. I was doing my Christmas shopping today and I saw that they have repackaged and are reselling Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, which was not my favorite movie, but I definitely love the book series a lot, and I've met Lemony and, you know, Daniel Handler and all that. It's like one of my best memories. I actually was meeting him. I met him in college. Dave took me to meet him, and he insulted Dave, and it was awesome. But anyway, that got me thinking that they are re-releasing Lemony Snicket as a Netflix original series. And Lemony himself is going to have a lot to do with the way it's presented and everything on Netflix, and I'm very excited for that, because if you don't read the books, the movie that did come out is just such a small piece of that amazing world that he's built for the Baudelaire orphans to explore and try to find answers. And also there's a lot about like the depth of adults' lives that like you can't even fathom, like the history that comes before you, you know, like it's not even yours to touch. You just have to kind of like pick up the pieces, and I've always loved that that sort of message, like we're just picking up after our ancestors and trying to make it a little better this time around. I'm getting all emotional talking about it, but I really do love the series. You know, it was a big influence on my writing style and everything, and I'm just super stoked that they're like going to give it another chance and everything, because the movie that they made Olaf like really goofy. Like I don't mind Jim Carrey's version of Olaf, but he's sort of supposed to be like a tragic romantic character, and they just, I don't know what the hell they were doing with that character. He was really weird. Just gonna move this. Oh, no, I'm not. I just got yelled at. It said, no, Emmy, you are not moving that. I would also like to put, I don't know where that accent just came from, I want to put one more fade right in here, and I'm just gonna kind of slap it in and be done with this page. I spent a lot of time on it. I want a gradient. I want to go, yeah, 90, multiply. Let me stick a blue in here, like up here. That's a good blue. Let's move the white up. No. I hope that these chats that you and I have. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. Oof. I didn't like how these panels are nice and angled, and then there was just like this horizontal cut across them. I didn't like it. But I think I will just adjust the depth of this a little teeny bit more. But I hope, you know, one of the big things that these videos are good for me is talking to people. I'm so terrible at talking to folks, and so it's good to have these like fake conversations, ruminations with other people. Even though I know you guys can't necessarily respond at the mo, but you will be shortly when this video goes up in 5 or 6 days according to my schedule. And wow, we finished this right on time, like right at 30 minutes. Alrighty, that's going to do it for this one, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!